So, guys, specifically today, we're going to talk about the transit-oriented development in Chicago. So we're gonna acronym that to TOD. And a lot of our listeners probably haven't heard about this, but it's something that every investor should know about. So let's start at the very basic building block here. Casey, what is TOD? What is the TOD ordinance that was passed?
It's an ordinance that's been passed already, but it's been updated for the third time. That passed in late July. That is almost tripled the amount of properties that are eligible for the transit-oriented development, or TOD, bonus. And Stephen will walk us through the ins and outs of all the policy implications.
Cool. So just to be clear, this is a policy that's been around since 2013 or whatever it was.
Yep.
But now they've opened up the floodgates where a lot more, parcels or whatever, however you want to define it, are now eligible for this. That is correct?
Yep. So the TOD ordinance, also called transit served location in the code, actually has two main components. One is that it doesn't require as much parking compared to a property that's not in a TOD area. And then there's a free density bonus in certain zoning districts for properties that are also within a TOD area. And then what Casey was saying about how the number of properties that are eligible has tripled, that's because this year the city added a bunch more bus routes to the list. So it had originally added bus routes in 2019, and now it just added a lot more bus routes. And so that just totally expanded the number of units, or not units, properties across Chicago that could take advantage of the TOD ordinance.
What kind of properties, though? Like, is this if you're just doing new development? If you have an existing 3-unit, do you care about this? Like, walk us through some of the properties, or give us a couple tangible scenarios.
So a lot of people think it only applies to new construction, but it also applies to existing developments as well. And when you're changing the use of a development, so let's say that there's a daycare in a building right now and they're moving out and it's being switched to a bakery. So that's called a change of use. And that bakery then has to comply with their parking requirements, not necessarily the parking requirements of the daycare that came before it. And so let's say the bakery has a parking requirement of 4 normally, but the TOD ordinance is like, well, actually it's 2 because you're right on this bus route. So now this bakery owner doesn't have to go and find 4 spaces when there were only 2 in the back of the property to begin with.
Got it. So it's allowing these changes to happen more frequently now because it's one less box that needs to be checked.
Yeah, and usually the planning department of the city of Chicago has advised business owners about it when they are eligible for it. But I think it also helps just existing property owners to advertise this fact when they're looking for tenants or when they're trying to sell their properties.
Got it.
And if I can jump in quickly, I think that's one of the major advantages to a broker, owner, or investor that listens to the podcast, is to highlight now that their property is a transit served or eligible for the transit oriented development bonuses. So often it's an overlooked piece of data because it's small and obscure and not enough people dive this deep into policy, like nerds like Stephen and I. But it can really change the pro forma of a property if someone's taking advantage of these this ordinance.